So, me and a buddy of mine were having a discussion about what makes some certain characters in Overwatch, just absolutely terrible to fight against. And of course, one of those characters has to be Kiriko, as she is one of the most top played and honestly one of the top ranked and quite possibly the best support in Overwatch 2. And we started getting into a little bit of a debate trying to decipher, what makes Kiriko so overpowered, or at the very least, much more competent than every other support in the game. Overall, we kind of converged into one conclusion, that being that Kiriko honestly does way too much, and that she is fundamentally broken as a character because it doesn't really matter how much you nerf something, just those intrinsic qualities of those abilities are a little too powerful. And the part where we started disagreeing again was deciding which ability was really the cause of all these issues. My friend, who is more of a DPS player rather than anything else, decided that maybe it was her teleport ability. It was just way too powerful. The fact that she can, go way off sides and be unpunishable because then she can just teleport back to her teammates. And, I totally get that. Being a DPS player, not being able to punish somebody who's obviously doing a huge mistake and then they get away scot-free, that's, a little cringe. But while I do agree that definitely sucks about Kiriko, I don't think that's the ability that makes Kiriko fundamentally broken. Because in my opinion, I believe that Cleanse is what makes Kiriko such a top tier support, if not the best support in Overwatch 2. And after giving it some thought, after, thinking about it and trying to decipher what makes Kiriko just such a pain in the ass to fight against, especially with her Cleanse, I think I finally figured it out. So in Overwatch, abilities can do two things, alright? They can either counter another ability, or they can nullify them. Obviously, everybody already knows what countering is, because that's what Overwatch is all about. But just to make things clear, countering for me is being able to just shut down somebody's progress. Like, for example, how do you counter a team composition that's all about spam? Well, you either go Sigma and use his Black Hole ability to, soak up all that damage, or, you go D.Va with Defense Matrix. You're just absolutely taking away any possibility of them doing any progress, which is dealing damage to your team, by completely protecting your team at no real consequence other than, using up your abilities. You protect your team from damage and you completely counter the spam. Nullification is a little bit different. I mean, it's still technically countering, but it's kind of like more of a subset of it. To me, Nullification is where, the enemy attack still goes through, it does damage, it gets a little bit, of progress for that enemy team. However, somehow you kind of minimize the effect of it as much as possible. Not completely, but at least by a significant amount. For example, like Baptiste and his lamp. His lamp provides invulnerability, but you still take damage up until a certain point. So while you might, survive a D.Va bomb, you're still gonna have very low health. And of course, like any good Baptiste, you'll do your little healing burst and ta-da, you're back on track. You're not completely countering a D.Va bomb, but at the very least you're able to survive from it. That is, in my opinion, what Nullification is. You nullify the effects of whatever the hell just happened. So now going back to Kiriko's Cleanse, that's the big selling point of it. It does two things. Not only does it make your teammates invulnerable, which completely counters any kind of damage whatsoever, but it also cancels out any kind of status effect. Even the movement impairment ones. Which to me is pretty fucking broken. I mean, if it did one or the other, that'd be fine. And then put on top of that the fact that Kiriko not only does pretty good chipping damage, pretty competent amount of healing, and can get out of places really easily. Honestly, the more I think about it, the more it just sounds like this was somebody's self-insert character. But I digress. But there's also consequence in the way that the ability works that makes Kiriko just have a hand above pretty much every other support. Overwatch and its abilities are very much a case of timing and reaction. You need to time your abilities well so that way you can counter things that the enemy is doing, otherwise you're going to be caught with your pants down. Likewise, if anybody else is using their abilities against your team, you need to be able to react accordingly. If you don't react in time or don't time your things correctly, then you could quite possibly lose the entire game. And the thing is that Kiriko's Cleanse doesn't really need to be used in good time or in good reaction. You just need to use it. Of course, when it's appropriate, but because of how short the cooldown is, the time frame to take advantage of the fact that Kiriko doesn't have her Cleanse is very small. Which really wouldn't be such a bad thing if Kiriko's Cleanse didn't nullify pretty much a huge chunk of the Overwatch cast. I mean, really think about it. Cleanse has the ability to neutralize high damage ults like D.Va, Orisa, Doomfist, fight-winning stuns like Reinhardt's Shatter, or Mei's Freeze ult, or abilities that are a fundamental part of anybody's kit, like Ana's Grenade. If you're playing Ana against a Kiriko, good luck trying to do anything. And on top of that, a Kiriko player doesn't really have to time her cleanse well either. For some Overwatch characters, she can actually use her ability, and as long as she's not hit by that ultimate, to nullify an ultimate. If the entire team is captured inside the Orisa's ult, Kiriko just needs to cleanse her teammates to be able to get out of there quickly because, you don't get movement impairment. If your team gets entirely shattered by a Reinhardt, just use Cleanse to pick them back up, and not to mention that you actually don't take any damage from any pins or swings from the Reinhardt either. Because on top of being invulnerable, you're also intangible. If you're sucked into a Rosario ultimate, either cleanse your teammates who are stuck in it, or just teleport out of there. Kiriko's Cleanse is just fundamentally reactive rather than proactive. It's pretty much the equivalent of what a Mercy Rest is, except now, again, it's for your entire team. I guess there's an argument to be made that if your teammates do die, they don't come back with Cleanse, as they did with Mercy Res. But when you get something that's just like a really good advantage against your team that you tried really hard to pull off, and then a Kiriko can just cleanse it all away, to say that doesn't suck is a very huge lie, and as a Reinhardt player, it really fucking sucks, especially now. But that's a topic for another video. So, in conclusion, let me just say that Kiriko honestly does way too much. She heals, she damages, she can get away easily, and her cleanse is total bullshit. What I will say though is it really does feel like a lot of the game now revolves around Kiriko. Sure, Sojourn does do a lot of damage and she is carrying the meta at the moment, but I feel like, in time maybe they'll learn to rebalance her properly so she isn't such a big deal. But when that time comes, I feel like Kiriko will be the next one in the chopping block, if she isn't already. She is hands down the best support at the moment because of what she does. She might not do the most healing, she might not do the most damage, and sure, her survivability is questionable. But that cleanse is just way too powerful for one character to have. I personally think cleanse shouldn't be making people invulnerable. That's what Baptiste is for. Let it still cancel out other abilities, but don't let the players become invulnerable from it. I think negating debuffs is just a powerful ability in and of itself. And even without her cleanse, I personally believe that Kiriko is honestly a pretty solid character. Hell, she might even still be a top tier support. If she can run with Lucio, someone who doesn't heal that much and still be part of the professional meta, then, I think she does enough. But, now I'd like to hear from you. Are you a Kiriko main, or do you fight against Kirikos a lot? Do you like seeing Kiriko there all the time, especially with the Kiriko Lucio meta that everybody uses in the pro leagues? Do you think maybe Cleanse should be brought down a little? I personally do think so. Make sure to leave your opinion down in the comment section down below. If you found this video interesting, like it if you like it, dislike it if you disliked it. If you'd like to see more content just like this, make sure to subscribe. And if you'd like to support this channel, I do have a Patreon in the description. Thank you so much to my fellow patrons, and I will talk to you guys later.